you need to find a way to build a traffic engine before any monetization method is going to work.
Welcome to the RV Entrepreneur Podcast, the weekly show for nomads, work campers, RVers, and entrepreneurs looking to earn a living or build a business while enjoying the RV lifestyle. This week's host is Jim Nelson. Let's settle in and enjoy the RV Entrepreneur Podcast, brought to you by RV Life.
Hello again, I'm Jim at RV Life, and I'm an RV blogger. Hi, Jim. Renee and I have been RV blogging at Live Work Dream since 2006. But Google that, and you may not find us first. You'll likely discover RV Blogger. Mike and Susan Scarpignato launched RV Blogger in 2018 after hitting the road in an RV and putting in some serious time learning and planning their new content creation business. Fast forward 6 years now, and they're successfully running RVblogger.com, TravelTrailerPro.com, and MotorHomeFacts.com. Yes, blogging is still a thing, and we dive deep into the value of long-form evergreen content. But Mike and Susan also produce the popular RV Blogger YouTube channel and manage a huge Facebook group for RV newbies. How have they done it? Spoiler alert, they don't chase algorithms or pay much attention to analytics. It all starts with listening to their audience and delivering the genuine quality content they want to read and watch. We discuss how they stand out in the crowded RV content creation space and how they've grown their email list to 155,000 plus subscribers, and how important that is in this new age of generative engine optimization. Yeah, that's a thing. Go ask your favorite chatbot. I'm excited to share this discussion because Mike and Susan are doing what so many creators out there want to do. They're living their best RV life by succeeding in their space with a clear goal in sight. And we discuss an interesting analogy about launching and grooming your business for success by creating a clear runway for takeoff. How to keep it in the air and get to your destination, and most importantly, creating an exit strategy for a safe landing. Get ready to take some notes from Mike and Susan at RV Blogger, right after we take off for a minute with a message that helps keep the RV entrepreneur in the air. This episode is made possible by Travelfy. Want reliable internet without the hassle? Meet Travelfy. It's portable, high-speed Wi-Fi that's ready to go wherever you are. From road trips to remote cabins. No tricky setup or permanent location required. Just plug in and you're connected. And here's the best part. No contracts, no commitments, and no reactivation fees. Pay only for the months you need. Travelfy connects to the strongest available signal among multiple major networks, so you stay online with confidence, backed by a US-based support team that knows the outdoor lifestyle. Travelfy, simplifying internet while you travel. Visit Travelfy.com today. That's TRAVLFI.com. Listeners can save 15% with code RVE at checkout. Mike, Susan, thank you so much for joining me. I'm really looking forward to our chat here.
Well, thanks for having us, Jim. We're excited to be here with you and have a nice chat this evening.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. This is technically the RV Life Entrepreneur Podcast. So I ask all of my guests 2 simple questions first. And I just wanted to know, keep it short and sweet, just kind of a get to know you. When were you guys first introduced to the RV Life, and how is that different now, or is it different for each of you?
Wow. Well, we were introduced at different times. Susan was introduced first, so I'll let her go first.
So I camped as young as probably 1. We started in a tent and then pop up and then travel trailer with my parents and my brother. So, we were seasonal campers every summer. We did our camping excursions. And then when my children once I married and had children, then I began camping. And we did that for about 10 years. We started out in a pop-up as well, and then graduated to a travel trailer. I loved the pop-up, but it was a little too challenging. It seemed like every time we went camping, it rained. Every time I had to close it up, it was wet. So at that point, I decided I was moving on to a travel trailer. And then we stopped. The children kind of outgrew it and had other hobbies and interests. And then Mike and I picked up, and then we started traveling.
Yeah, so we met late in life, and my experience with camping before that was I was a hardcore tent camper. I swore I'd never own an RV because
Mm-hmm.
that's not camping. It's
Right.
living in a condominium in the woods somewhere. So, I swore I'd never do that. But we met about 9 years ago, and back in 2017, Susan said, "Hey, instead of doing an all-inclusive resort for vacation this year, why don't we rent a camper van and cruise the PCH out in California?" And I was like, "That's awesome." So I started looking into it. I'm like, these camper vans don't have bathrooms in them. And so she was like, you can rent an RV. And I was like, I didn't know. So we rented a 19-foot Class C RV for 10 days. Our friends all thought we were crazy because we'd only been together maybe a year and a half when we
Right.
did that. It was the best 10 days of our lives. It was life-changing. I got back from that trip, and I knew I had to find a new job where I could be traveling and experiencing the United States and all of the beautiful things that it has to offer. And so that's kind of how all this actually started.
Neat. So that leads me right into the second question I ask everyone here. Those new endeavors were rather entrepreneurial. What does it mean to be an entrepreneur to you guys?
Well, I guess it means, an entrepreneur, I guess, is an opportunist, right? You're looking for the opportunity to fill a need that exists in a marketplace or in the world. And so, when we were getting ready to rent our first RV, I was spending tons of time watching YouTube videos and learning how to, do the sewer hookups and how to use the RV and how it all works. So when we rented ours, I would know what to do or have some idea. And what I found is that there was a lot of information out there in the marketplace, but it was just okay. It wasn't always complete. It wasn't always up to date. And I thought, Susan and I are really good at doing research. We enjoy that sort of thing. And so we were researching everything about how to be RVers. And once we came up with the business idea that we were, going to go down that road, we thought we'd be able to share everything we were learning, and that worked out really, really well for us. And so, but that was the opportunity that we saw. There was a hole in the market for getting good information in one place without having to search everywhere. And so that was kind of our mindset going into it.
I want to dive into all that stuff real deep, but tell me a little bit of the backstory here. I believe you began in print, right? So what did you do before becoming known as an RV blogger, or should I say the RV blogger? What about your previous life?
Well, previous life, I served a bunch of different roles for four of the top 10 home builders in the country. So I was an upper level manager with them, and my job was mostly on the sales side of things. So I looked at land that we were going to consider buying, decided what houses to build on that property, what prices we should set for them, hired the sales staff, and sort of made all that go. And so that was my life. I spent most of my whole career really in the home building and remodeling industry. And Susan has a very different set of skills.
Right. I spent about the past 26 years working at a local television station.
Okay.
So I was in the engineering part of that, where I did camera work, technical director, floor director, master control operator, things of that. So I did the behind the scenes of a newscast.
I can definitely see how that can play into the YouTube production and things you're doing now. But Mike, that's almost a 180 or a 720 spin around from what you did in your previous life. Let's fill people in here real quick. You run 3 different RVing websites, a popular YouTube channel, and a Facebook group. You have RVblogger.com, TravelTrailerPro.com, and MotorHomeFacts.com. We'll get to all of it, but which came first and when did it all begin?
So the first thing that came was RVblogger.com, and that began in December of 2018. So we're celebrating our 6-year anniversary of the RV Blogger website. We started out being bloggers, and luckily it worked out that way for us. We didn't know why at the time, but it worked out down the road. We discovered later. So what happened is, I just started writing articles and posting them on the website. And luckily, the timing was perfect where I was able to sell my house, leave my full-time job, and start RV Blogger working full time. It's very, very difficult to start a website working part time. You just don't have the hours to be able to crank out the articles, manage your website, talk to affiliate partners, and begin monetizing and all those things. And so I was very, very fortunate. And I set aside some of my, money from the sale of my house, and I said, I'm going to give myself 2 years to replace my income at my big, comfy corporate job that I had. And so we began, and it worked. And then I was able to replace her income in another year. And so, it really all worked out very, very well for us. But that's when it all began. And we started out with RV Blogger first because we weren't full-time RVers. We were part-timers. And to start a YouTube channel for us, I just felt would be a little bit disingenuous. I kind of felt like a lot of people sell everything, buy their RV and hit the road. They're full-time RVers and they start their YouTube channel. And that's just not our story. And so I didn't know what we would make YouTube videos about. And so 9 months later in September of 2019, that is when we started the YouTube channel. Susan was very insistent that we started, and that's why we did it. And at first I was like, what are we going to make videos about? And then I started thinking, well, let's just look at our most popular blog articles. We already know people like those and they're reading them. Well, our most popular blog article on the whole website was called 8 Small Campers with Bathrooms. And I just wrote a review of 8 different campers, and it was getting tens of thousands of views every month. And so our first video we made, it wasn't our very first one, but we went to the Hershey show and we did
the first one in our niche.
The first one in our niche was, we called it 8 Small Campers with Bathrooms. And that baby just blew up. It has almost 3 million views on it now, and it still makes us money every single month. It's been amazing. But that's kind of how it all started. Now, the big advantage that I had was I took that video, and when we posted it on YouTube, I put it in my blog article. Well, right away, it started getting 15, 20, 25,000 views a month because that's how many people were coming to the blog article. And of course, YouTube picked up on that. Not right away. It did nothing for the first 6 weeks, and then it just took off like a rocket. But that's how our YouTube channel started. And then after that, we just continued to grow the business. And, we actually added a magazine called RV Camping Magazine that we ran for a couple of years. We sold that over to Damien and the folks over at RV Today, e-magazine. But we had that going for a while. But before I sold the magazine, I knew I had to replace that revenue. So I started Travel Trailer Pro and motorhomefacts.com ahead of the sale to give those time to ramp up. And so when we sold the magazine, which we only sold it because of time reasons, it was a lot of time and effort. Mm-hmm. So we sold that, and we already had backup revenue streams coming in to replace that income. So that's kind of how it all happened.
Smart. That's really smart. And we're going to get into niching down a bit later. But if I'm doing the math correctly here, you guys pretty much launched in time for a pandemic and just before lockdown. Was that possibly a good thing for the RV content you were creating? Or what challenges did you face when, trying to grow a business as the pandemic hit?
Well, at first we panicked at first because, we just felt like everybody was going to stop, whatever it was. And we didn't really know how it was going to affect the business. Like, were people going to be able to RV? Were people going to be able to buy an RV? Or, we did see, in the very beginning, kind of just a slowdown and panic. And we still need to shoot tours, but you weren't having RV shows. Yep. So we would have to go to dealerships and we would have to travel to other states. We weren't full time yet. So we had to take opportunities where we could travel elsewhere, mask up and hit a dealership. And luckily they were all very kind to us. They just gave us the keys to their rigs and let us go out and take a look at it. And no one else was there anyway. So it was kind of ideal for us.
It worked out
we didn't have to share the RVs with anybody at the time. And so then we began to see how camping became the social distancing way of travel, spending time with your family, get out of the house. And so then things picked up, and then we saw, the advantage we had in that at that time.
Our industry had a big advantage.
Our industry did.
Yeah.
Right.
Others got crushed,
Yes.
as we all know,
Yes.
but the RV world did very, very well during that time. So yeah, we caught the wave and rode it for sure.
Yeah, a lot of people were flocking to it, discovering it, hitting the road for the first time. But how did you, so that kind of, led to your growth, but how did you grow so big so quickly in such a crowded space? A lot of people were starting to create this content, but you really capitalized on it. What do you attribute that to?
Well, before we started RV Blogger, I took an entire year and learned how to become a blogger. And I learned everything about how to set up your website, what SEO is and what it's all about. I took a lot of time. I mean, I feel like I was working 2 full-time jobs for that year before we started RV Blogger. And it really, really helped us out quite a bit, because almost every article I was writing was landing on page 1 of the Google search results. And that's where you have to be. And really, you have to be in the top 3 spots on page 1. And I was able to learn pretty quickly how to do that. And I was able to learn what articles would rank and which ones wouldn't. And so we got very good at keyword research and being able to rank and drive that traffic. The other really important part of all that was that we had a very robust Pinterest program that Susan ran, where she was doing Pinterest pins. We were doing tons of them every month, putting them out on a rotating basis. She had a whole spreadsheet and set up for how we did that. And that also drove a ton of traffic to us. So Google is seeing all this traffic come to our website from Pinterest at first, and then Google caught on and our articles were ranking really, really well. And then when we started the YouTube channel, like I just mentioned, we would just put our YouTube videos in the articles on the website that were already getting traffic. And, that sort of synergy just really made everything grow extremely fast.
Smart. I mean, and good timing. Renee and I have been blogging since 2007, but the whole niche really doesn't take off till you guys were jumping on the bandwagon there, and it really shows in your growth. But now there's RV content creators everywhere. There's just so many of them. What makes RV Blogger different? How do you guys stand out in this crazy world of RV content creation now?
Well, I will say one thing's for sure. We kind of look at the world of RVing on YouTube, for example, as you have your lifestylers, and then you have those that are more about tips and educational and informational. Because we were not full-time, and we were not even most timers when we started our YouTube channel, we did not focus on our lifestyle as a YouTuber. And so, because like Mike said, we didn't camp often enough that would generate enough content to keep a channel going.
A YouTube channel
going.
Yeah.
And so once we decided, what our area of expertise was going to be, then we could focus on that more so. And we even thought about, as we did hit the road more often, would we be a lifestyler? Would that be an expectation of us? And we
struggle with that.
We struggled with that. Yeah. Because, for one thing, we didn't want to seem, as posers, we didn't want to seem like, oh, they're not even RVing, but that's because we were working basically 2 jobs, because we still had our corporate jobs along with trying to build RV Blogger. But we figured out where our lane was, what we could do best at, and that was providing the educational information, tips and tours and repairs and things along. And we just focused on that. I think being a lifestyler is a very
much harder
to get into.
Because how do you differentiate that?
Right.
Exactly.
How do you set yourself apart from everybody else? Unless you have amazing charisma, what is it that you can do differently than the other hundreds of thousands of them out there?
And we had a couple of other advantages too. I mean, even with our YouTube videos, we We don't do tours the way the other guys do tours. Most of the other big tour channels do one RV at a time. Well, we do multiple. We do a minimum of 2 or 3. Sometimes we'll do a single RV if it's really big and the tour lasts 40 minutes. We're not going to do 3 of those in one video, but we'll do 3 or 4 or 5 or 8 RV reviews in one video. And so that separated us on the YouTube world. And the other big thing is too, we knew one day we might want to sell our business. And so we never, ever wanted to make our business a lifestyle channel about Mike and Susan. What are Mike and Susan doing this weekend? Where are they going camping? We never, ever really wanted to get into that, because if it's about us, how do we sell it? Because we're not replaceable if the channel and the blog is all about us and what we're doing. So it was very mindful in the beginning that we had to be careful to create evergreen content that was educational and not about our lifestyle, so that we have an exit plan at some point when we're ready to execute.
That's the other advantage to having our type of videos, is that if people are searching for tours, any number of our videos can get views throughout a year. Whereas if it's a lifestyle, if it's about a particular campground or a particular excursion that you did, or what's going on in your life at the particular moment, that isn't very evergreen.
Right.
Somebody may pop back and take a look at that down the road because they're just interested. But, we did have that evergreen content that just, keeps the engine going.
Yeah. Smart. That standing out part often comes down to the niche. And Susan, you mentioned finding your lane. I see so many channels and videos that just look alike, like we were just talking about, the same rig tours, the product reviews, they all have the shocking thumbnail. Yeah. Talk to me about the importance of establishing your own niche. RV Blogger seems fairly general by the name, but Travel Trailer Pro and Motorhome Facts, they clearly have defined target markets. What's your take on staying within your lane for a designated niche versus talking about anything and everything RVing or lifestyle like we were talking about?
Well, I think that it depends what your lane is, right? If our lane is education and informing people, and so that really gave us a very wide array of topics to go after and present to our readers on the blog. So on RV Blogger, you'll find a wide array of articles that are on there. And they're everything from, how to become a full-time RVer to written RV reviews and things like that. Where on the YouTube channel, we mostly do RV tours and reviews. But I think it's important to find a lane that is underserved. And then that's your opportunity to bring your product to the market and fill that need, right? And that's what we saw. So I think it's super important to do that. And like Susan just mentioned, we see tons of people on the road and they all do the same thing. We sold our house, we bought an RV, and we started a YouTube channel. And it's like, the first thing I think to myself is, well, how are you going to be different? So we found ways to differentiate ourselves. And, one of the ways we did that is through branding. And branding is just ultra important because it is one of the things that differentiates you from everyone else, no matter what. Now, RV Blogger is a great name. I got lucky that we found it. I was actually learning from a program created by a guy who ran a company called ProBlogger.com when I was learning how to blog. One morning, I'm like, man, I gotta come up with a name for a website. There is no way RV Blogger is going to be available. I'm in the shower thinking all this. I go downstairs, type it in to GoDaddy.com, and sure enough, it's for sale. And this guy had started it years before I thought of it. He was going to just record his family's trips around the country. He did 2 or 3 videos and quit, and just had the name all those years. And he finally put it up for sale, and I just happened to see it. And I ran upstairs, got my credit card, ran back downstairs, and bought that thing immediately. And so we got lucky on that. But then beyond that, in all of our videos and on our website and everything we do, you'll see our branding. We really make sure our logo and our name is there. And so if you're watching on RV Blogger anything, you know it. We even have our shirts on right now and you can't see them. But subliminally, the message is getting out there.
We're sending vibes.
It's important to stay on brand, but it's so funny that you mentioned ProBlogger, because I actually had a couple guest posts on there many, many years ago. And in 2006, I owned rvblogs.com and started up a little venture of a multi-site network where people could start their own RV
Oh,
blogging.
okay.
And it never really took off. And the one that did take off for tripods, our three-legged pet amputation community, now I host 2,400 three-legged dog and cat blogs. So RV Blogs was just like my first endeavor to see the platform and making it work. But my niche that actually took off is what I'm still doing today. So I'm a firm believer in blogging. And you guys, you started with the blogs, you focus on that, but then you develop the YouTube channel. So what challenges have you had with the major changes in search engine algorithms, especially over the past 4 or 5 years, and now the move to more generative optimization when people are eventually not going to go to websites anymore? So what challenges have you overcome, and what do you see having to do for the future and where it's going?
Well, we face the biggest challenge that all bloggers face, which is Google sold out, and now they're working with Reddit. And so almost anything you search on Google, Reddit is going to be your top results, or
Number
forums. Some of the information in there is 2 and 3 and 7 years old. I mean, it's amazing. You can look up how to cook spaghetti and Reddit's going to pop up. It's crazy. And so we took a huge hit in the amount of traffic that now goes to all 3 of our websites. And, that affects everything from, ad revenue that we make on the website. When we post our videos into our articles, we don't get as much traffic to those now. Our affiliate income is affected by it. So, a lot of things have been affected. Now, luckily, as the years have gone by, we have built as many streams of income as we possibly could, so that if something like this were to happen, we could still survive. Now, we have a lot of blogger friends that are out there that completely lost their jobs. They no longer have an income, and we feel horrible for those people. And we have gotten lucky and made our way through that. The biggest reason that we made our way through it is because we took the time to build an email list, and we've had over 155,000 people, probably over 160,000 now, sign up for our email list over the years. And that's the main driver of traffic to our website. Now we send out newsletters every week, for a week, one for each of our entities. So we send out an RV Blogger newsletter, we send out a Motorhome Facts newsletter, we send out a Travel Trailer Pro newsletter, and we send out our YouTube video newsletter. And all those newsletters generate tons of traffic for us. And that's how we've been able to survive the big change with Google. We've encouraged other people along the way. You have to build your email list. You have to build your email list. And if you haven't, you're in a really, really difficult position now. So, that's one thing. Now we're looking at, what's the future of the written word, right? We still use all of our content on our websites, but do we need to change that over and create video instead of having it show up as a blog article that you have to read? And what's going to be the newest form of email that comes out because that will change at some point and somehow along the way. Everything changes all the time. And so the best we can do is just be aware of that and try to keep our eyes open, so that when we see new technology or new platforms that are starting, we have to be aware of them and investigate them and determine if that's going to be a new revenue stream or take over an old one somehow. And, just be cognizant and aware, so we're always ready for the next challenge that comes up.
Ever found yourself lost in the middle of nowhere with no signal? With the RV Life app, that's a thing of the past. Enjoy reliable offline navigation, lane guidance, and turn-by-turn voice directions, ensuring you're always on the right path. Navigate the open road with ease and confidence. Visit rvlife.com to download the app today and start exploring without limits.
We have to be able to adapt, and I'm really glad you brought up the email marketing, which I I'm going to put in a pin in that as well. But everyone is chasing those algorithms these days, and a lot of content creators are just becoming so sick of that. So how closely do you pay attention to statistics and analytics, and which metrics are most important for you guys?
You want me to answer this one?
Yes.
I don't. I don't pay attention to it at all. I don't even watch our videos after we put them out. Like I do not. Here's the measure of success. I have a to-do list every day, and that to-do list has certain things on it that are key metrics for us hitting our business goals. Well, those goals are very simple. I have to get all 4 emails out every week, and we have to get a video out every week. We also send out a couple of shorts every week. We have other things that are going on all the time as well, but I measure our success in, we've never missed a video in 6 years. We've never missed a newsletter ever. And so to me, the key metrics are, did I get everything done this week so that everything's going to be able to go out the door when it's supposed to and the way it's supposed to? That's my measure of success. All the other stuff that you can track subscribers, and you can look at, well, this guy only has this many subscribers, but he has this many views and this many comments, and none of those numbers make sense, and blah, 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 blah. None of it matters because you can't control that. The part I can control and Susan can control is, are we making good content? Are we getting it out the door on a regular basis? And at the end of the week, if we can say we've done those things, then we've had a successful week. Everything else is out of our control, and it takes care of itself. So we are not into the numbers. We don't look at that stuff at all. We enjoy looking at YouTube because I like to see the fireworks when we have a video that's in number 1. That's fun. And that's about as far as I go.
Well, and also too, is there's so much confusion and controversy about what makes a successful YouTube channel, or, is my thumbnail aggressive enough? Is it clickbaity? Do I need hashtags? What do I need to say in my description? And we're not really sure if any of that ultimately matters in the end. Yes, you do have to have an attractive thumbnail. And yes, you do have to have keywords in your title that are meaningful, that people are searching for. But ultimately, it's probably going to be more about the content and whether or not people will want to come back. You might get them there because you might have a cool thumbnail, but are they going to stay? Are they going to keep watching? Are they going to come back? Are you providing the content that's going to keep your audience going?
Our best example of that is the video that we did, 8 small campers with bathrooms, that has almost 3 million views on it now. I was so dumb when we put that first video out. I didn't do any of the back end of YouTube. So I put a title, no description, nothing. Didn't select any tags, didn't select the languages, English, nothing. I did nothing else on the back end. I just put a title and put the video out. 6 weeks later, it blew up and went to the moon. I mean, we were getting hundreds of thousands of views a month on it. Nothing was in the back end. It was years later when I finally went back and filled out the description and said that it was in English.
Not suitable for
and
kids.
Added the tags and all that. So none of that stuff really matters, in my opinion, at all. It's all about what content you put out. YouTube doesn't care about any of that other stuff. All they care about is how long is the person watching, and are they watching from the beginning of your video to the end, so they will consume as many commercials as we can throw at them. It's all they care about. It's how they make money. It's just vanity numbers, in my opinion. I don't see that there's much more to it than that.
I totally agree. And it comes down to the content. And you got to get the people there to watch or read the content. So I want to come back to the email marketing. I hope everyone was listening, because that's where you're going to get people in the future when they never even leave the search engines getting their AI responses. But if you're getting in their inboxes, you have captive eyeballs and you can send them where you want to go. So how did you guys grow your list to more than 155,000 subscribers? And what are you providing in those newsletters that drives the most traffic?
So we had I started collecting emails very, very basically, like, hey, I put a pop up on the website. Hey, sign up for our newsletters. It was really terrible, was not very good. And I knew that I had to begin collecting more and more emails. And so we came up with an idea called RV Camping Magazine. And the whole idea behind RV Camping Magazine is that it would be our lead magnet that we would give away for free. We've never charged for it, ever. And people would get the magazine, and in exchange, they would give us their first name and email address. Now, the other thing we did with RV Camping Magazine was we used that as a tool to expand our audience. And so the whole premise of the magazine was we're going to put a really popular RV YouTuber on the front cover, all the people we look up to and we've watched over the years, and introduce them with an interview and a nice article to our audience. And then we would reach out to other RVers that were growing and, maybe not really big channels yet, but they're growing and coming along, and they would contribute articles to the magazine as well. And so our audience would now get to know these people, and they could also follow them, and that would be great. That's fine by us. We prefer to share audience rather than capture it. We think there's enough to go around for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And on the flip side of that coin is whoever was on the cover of the magazine, and then any other bloggers or YouTubers that contributed articles for that month, they would share our magazine with their audience. And so we were getting signups from their audience as well. And so that was really the thing that took our email list from me not knowing what the heck I was doing to something that became really very powerful for us.
Excellent. So talk to me about the tools for a minute here that you're using to grow your list and your business, not just production, but the marketing that we're talking about. I see you do have some lead generation and landing pages going on. Do you have any favorite or recommended platforms that you're using for email marketing, conversion, and that sort of thing?
Well, we use ConvertKit for our email program, and it's a pretty all-inclusive program. Any landing pages that you see that I made them on ConvertKit, or I make them myself and create a page on my website. I don't use things like lead funnels and stuff like that. They're very, very expensive to use. You have to learn how to integrate them to your other email capture software. It's just too much for me. So I find ConvertKit to be kind of the best all-in-one experience that I've found out there. It's not perfect, but it's very, very good. And we've been using it for years and years. And I get great customer service from those guys. If I have a problem, they're good, genuine people, and they do try to take care of us for sure. So that's been really great. And that's really the main thing that we use, both for email capture, for lead generation, for landing pages, for all that stuff.
That's great. And it's some of the best advice I have for anyone that's finally getting some traction and starting to ramp up is, like, in my case, I used free tools for a long time. I had a free MailChimp account and I kept cleaning my list. But once I was ready to up my game, I, upgraded to ActiveCampaign and, some more robust tools, and, it pays off. You got to be able to invest in your business. But speaking of money, you guys are clearly doing something right. And there's so many RVers out there that just getting started. They want to do what you guys have done. Everyone wants to make money on the road, and they all want to know what monetization methods are working best for you right now.
Well, it's a great question. And I will say this. You need to find a way to build a traffic engine before any monetization method is going to work, especially if you're brand new, right? You've got to have traffic coming in and lots of it, or you're just not going to make a lot of money doing it. And so obviously, and through our conversation, you can see that we spent a lot of time building up the traffic generating machine. Once you have that in place, then people come to your website on a regular basis, and the ads that run on our website make us money. And then they click the affiliate links that are in there, whether they go to Amazon or Harvest Hosts or Passport America or RV Trip Wizard or wherever. And then we make a small commission on those. We also have our YouTube channel where we make money coming in every month from our videos that are out there. Now, again, all of our content is what we consider or call evergreen, which means that it's good anytime. It's not seasonal. It's not like I don't think I've ever made a video like how to winterize your RV, because it's only good in the fall. I make content that's good all year round for people. And so that seems to help with the monetization as well. We've also, now that we've transferred over to the email marketing, it's the same concept. We just run our affiliate ads, where people pay us to run ads in our email now. People pay us to do dedicated ads. People are sponsoring YouTube videos and things like that. So in addition to just making money off those platforms, we've got people that want to harness the power of our audience and use it for themselves as well. And they're willing to pay us to do that and advertise for them. So that's been a good offshoot of all of this as well.
So you mentioned kind of an evolution here, and I see a similarity with us getting started. And we started the blog and we had affiliates on every single platform available out there, and then started working on the sponsored content. So as things have changed over the years, what's different now that you can focus on maybe more high dollar partnerships and not so many little irons in the fire? Or what advice do you have for those just getting started when they might not have the following yet, when they want to start making that money and they start a blog or they start a channel and they think they're going to start making money right away? I know it takes time. Do you have any advice for those folks? I think I might know the answer when it talks to about creating the traffic first, but you see where I'm going with this. What if all those people listening, like, hey, how do I get there right now?
Well, the best way to get there right now is to create the best content you can. And that's really what it all boils down to. I mean, if you create good content, and then the money will follow. That's the way we've always looked at it, and that's just kind of how we've always run things. We've never looked at it like, well, how much money can I make if I do this instead of that? It's really more about the audience. What do they want? What do they need? What are they interested in? How can I best serve them? How can I give them the best experience, or help them to learn something new, or look at something a new way, and share an experience, or share our thoughts about what we think about RVs when we're touring them, things along those lines. So that's our main focus. Everything else just happens off of that because it's the natural way that things occur. So if you're going into this looking for the money first, it's kind of backwards, and I don't know how successful you would be doing that.
Another thing is, though, not to interrupt you.
No, sure.
If you are the one that wants to quit your job, sell your house, buy an RV, and leave, it is going to be a whole lot more difficult if you're starting out brand new and you may not have a little financial cushion to help you. Yeah. Because it does take a while. Like, you need a certain amount of subscribers and you need a certain amount of views before you can even get monetized. Once you get monetized on YouTube, you're probably going to make, 3 cents for every 1,000 views until,
it's not much,
until you can graduate. I mean, you could put out, you could have hundreds of videos out and make $5 a month, because you just have to gather that many views to increase your rate per revenue. And so one of the advantages we had was we built RV Blogger for 4 years before we left both corporate jobs. By that time, we were generating an income. And once we left, it wasn't as much of a struggle because we replaced our corporate income. If you can't replace that right off the bat, it could be a little challenging. It's going to be a little more difficult.
Yeah.
It's going to be harder.
We were in an unusual position because like I said, I sold my house and I could quit my job to start RV Blogger. Susan stayed working at the local TV station for another 3 years. And so I replaced my income and I replaced her. She could have left her job, but didn't, because her youngest daughter was still in college and she wanted her health benefits to go through before she got her first job and all that. So we delayed a little bit
so
there.
For family reasons and everything, we held tight a little bit longer.
Sure.
But it took us, we were part-time RVers for the first 4 years of our 6-year journey. Well, is that right? And now we've been three-quarter timers.
I guess
the
you
past
really
3
almost
years.
can't count 2018 because it started in December. So 19, 20, 21, 22, those first 3.5 years.
Yeah.
We were just part-timers.
And now we're 3/4 timers. Now I will say too, it was a lot easier starting our business being at home, because if I had travel and all
Sure.
that other stuff and dealing with an RV maintenance and all the other stuff while you're on the road, it takes a lot of time too. So
It provides content, but it takes time.
it takes time.
It does, and it's some of the best advice I've heard to date, because I kind of explain it when we got started in the blogging. We put lots of little different irons in the fire, and we blew on the one that glowed the brightest, and then we focused on that. I mentioned a little pet project with RV blogs that didn't take off. The Tripods blogs is still alive today with 2,500 plus blogs. But before I get into like how you kind of create that flight plan for a business, you said something that really stuck with me on your website. What do you mean by shifting control in our lives so we can escape the world of conformity? I call it the default life, but how do you shift control? Everyone wants to like hit the road, but you put it succinctly. We need to be able to shift that control. How do you do that?
Well, so the first thing you need to do is find something that motivates you and is really a passion. And coming back from that 10-day RV trip, I was very, very passionate about, I need to find a way to make a living where I can travel and see the country. I was that blown away from the experience. That led me on over a year-long odyssey of figuring out what kind of business we wanted to start. And then once I figured that out, a year of learning how to do it before I even ever launched my first blog article on the website. So it's not, it's making a plan and then sort of following the steps to go through and then put things into action. And that's what I did. And then, it was also a little bit of good timing. I sold my home faster than I thought I would. I didn't have anywhere to live. Susan and I we were very in love, but we were dating at the time. We weren't living together. So I moved in with her temporarily till I could find another house.
And he never left.
And I never left. And so while I was here, I was like, well, my expenses are really low. I've got a bunch of cash in the bank. This is a perfect time for me to launch. And so I did. And it's about taking those risks. But for me, I have to be prepared in everything we do. So I had the money set aside to cover my expenses, which were very little. I had no debt. I was living with Susan, so we could split all the house expenses here, way less than what it used to be when we were living separate, and allowed me the time, to build the runway so we would be ready for takeoff whenever we were ready to go. And so that's one way of looking at it, or that's how we shifted control from working the 9-to-5 corporate life, which, by the way, I loved my job. I absolutely loved it. But I fell in love with RV travel and left a great job to go do this. But anyway, you have to kind of set your goals and put a plan together and then just execute and take the risk, but take mitigated risk. Don't just, I see this all the time where people sell their home, take that money, put it into an RV, and then they think they're going to go and make a YouTube channel and make money. And I'm like, no, don't do it. But go do it if you want to do it, but do it so you're prepared. If it doesn't work, what are you going to do? And are you going to want to stop RVing and buy a house again at some time? And your RV is not going to go up in value. The only time RVs ever went up in value is right during that 2 years of COVID. Other than that, they only go down in value. So I wouldn't take my savings and put it into an RV thinking I'll sell the RV and buy another house again when I'm done, because that's never going to happen. You're just going to lose that money.
Sure. So let's dive into this flight plan idea a little bit. You may have just answered where I was going with this, but you had this really cool concept that we discussed where to go with this interview. You mentioned you might have some advice about building a great runway for takeoff. Say someone has an idea to build a good business before hitting the road full time. I agree. That's very smart. But as much as I hear people say, oh, just do it, go for it, you'll be fine, that can get really scary. Yeah. So tell us, what are some key steps to do when you're building that runway to take off safely?
Well, a couple things. I think, first of all, understanding what your unique selling proposition or your uniqueness is going to be, finding your lane, which we've talked about earlier in the podcast. And then part of finding your lane is understanding what's in the marketplace out there, what hole is out there that's underserved or not being served, and what do you have to offer that can fill that need or that niche that's out there in the marketplace. And then you have to realize all these things just take time. No content creator, I don't think, ever got rich overnight unless you're in music or gaming or something super popular where millions and millions and millions of people are watching it around the world. That's just not the case with RV, our niche. There's a lot of people that watch, but it's not like gaming or music. And so it takes time. And so, my advice is to come up with a good plan and take your time and execute it before you spend all the money and before you give up your job and before you sell your house. So everything's already in place, or as much as it can be. And now you're ready to go and you can enjoy your journey, so much more that way. But the other side of this that people have to think about too is, what's your exit plan going to be? And you need to think about that up front before you begin your business, because, we see RVers all the time that are full time and they stop, they come off the road. It's not the easiest lifestyle. It's something I think a lot of people aspire to and they want to do. And trust me, it's fun when you're doing it, but it's also a hard life and your life changes and you may want to stop RVing at some point. We have grandkids. We like to spend time with our grandkids. That's the hardest thing in the world, to leave knowing that we're leaving them behind. And we have parents that are getting older, and there's going to be a point where we're going to have to be home probably more than we're away. And we realize this. And as far as the business goes, I didn't start the business so I could run the business for the rest of my life. I started the business so it could allow us to travel and do the things we want to do. And at some point, I hope to sell it. And have that exit plan in mind as well. And so, those are some of the biggest pieces of advice that I can give. The exit plan stuff is super important because it helps you to execute your business plan so it all aligns. And so when you do get towards the end of your career or towards the end of your RVing life, you already know why it's happening and what you want to do next. I think it just makes your planning a whole lot easier that way.
It makes perfect sense. And a lot of people don't have that goal in mind when they get into it, but it's kind of like running a marathon. You want to get to the end. You want to get there safely. You want to have a good time doing it. And it's all about the planning and the preparation and the training from the beginning to get there. So we talked about the takeoff and the landing, but there's a couple of years, many years in between there when people have taken off. So let's talk about staying in the air briefly, real here for just a minute, and getting to your destination. That's important. That's the goal, right? We already talked a lot about how you're doing it, but do you have any summary or general tips for those who may be ramping up their following, maybe starting to grow their income a bit, but nervous about how to keep it going? What then, and how can they keep it going so they do exit?
Yeah, it's really easy. It's listen to your customers, listen to your audience. They'll tell you what they want, they'll tell you what they need, and then you simply do it. When we first started our YouTube channel, I did go back and watch that video, 8 small campers with bathrooms. It was horrible.
I used to make them watch them. I don't make them watch them anymore.
It was so bad. But our viewers have told us through the comments, and we have read and answered, I think, almost every comment we've ever gotten.
And if we can improve on something, we will.
We want to hear. We want to know. People tell us, hey, you need to include this in your video. You need to include that in your video. If we hear enough people tell us that, we'll make the change and do it. We needed to, we pay attention to when I'm doing keyword research, right? Even that is a form of seeing what people are searching for and then evaluating if they are being served a good answer with the blog articles that come up in the Google search to answer their question. And if the answer is no, then guess what I'm doing? I'm writing an article because I know I can fill that need. And so it's really just about hearing what your audience wants and needs. And then every now and then, you have to kind of do things like we created RV Camping Magazine, right? And we did that with a very specific purpose in mind. It wasn't to make money, although we did make money. It was to help create our email list and grow that and blow it up. So I think that it's really a combination of, trying to earn money, but also serve your audience as best you can.
I think you've told us what our audience wants to hear. So I think that's a great place to land this plane. Mike, Susan, I can't thank you enough for sharing your insight with everything you're doing. What are you most proud of, and where can people learn more?
Wow. I think I'm most proud of the amount of work and effort that we've put into this over the years. People have no idea the amount of hours and hard work that both Susan and I put into this. And I'm ultra super proud of that. It's making me break up a little bit. It's been a real labor of love. It's been a real passion project for us. And even to the point where we do try to answer all the comments and emails that come in, and it's a lot. We just feel that obligation to our audience to do that. And we're very proud of that. We're very proud that people look to us for answers, and we can be there to provide it for them.
And I'll say the same thing, like reading the comments from YouTube, and as well as our Facebook group. We have a Facebook group of how many are in that now?
It's like 135 or 6 or 7. I don't know, 130 some thousand.
Right. And so when people are commenting in the group or commenting on a YouTube video, and they're like, thank you so much. We got so much great information and so much great support, and we feel so much more confident in ourselves. And, that was exactly the information we needed. Like, that is, like, that can turn a bad day into a good day.
For sure.
After you read that, and after you're like, wow, okay, what I'm doing matters. I'm helping somebody. This is a great feeling, and this is motivation to keep wanting to do it more.
You're clearly doing something right, and you want to keep up the good work. So where can people learn more?
They can head on over to rvblogger.com, and right on our homepage, you can just scroll part of the way down. Sign up for our free weekly newsletters, and you'll also get a free subscription to RV Today e-magazine. And if you do that, everything we do goes out in our newsletters. So if we have discounts or we have new material going out the door, you'll receive all of that stuff. That's the best way to connect with us. If you want to connect in our awesome Facebook group, head on over to Facebook, go to RV Camping for Newbies, and go ahead and ask to join the group, and we'd be happy to have you aboard.
Fantastic. Thanks again for joining me today.
Thanks a lot, Jim. Great being with you.
Wow. Mike and Susan are amazing. I hope you were paying attention to that bit about growing your email list. We'll see where the world of SEO and GEO is going, but one thing is certain. The inbox will always be one of your best runways for driving traffic to your content. Check the show notes for some relative past episodes. This discussion made me think of some similar sage wisdom I've received over the years. In a previous life as a marketing manager long, long ago, my boss told me, there's always room for number 2. So if your target market is a bit more crowded than that, you better niche down and stand out. Mike also mentioned listening to your audience. So you may need to change things up once in a while, or maybe pretty often. Well, another mentor taught us the wisdom of wash, rinse, repeat. Whatever's not working for you deserves a refresh. Finally, don't do it for the money, and understand that these things take time. That same mentor told us alignment is a process, not an event. Until next time, I'm Jim at RV Life, and I'm an RV entrepreneur. Oh, and an RV blogger. This episode is made possible by Travelfy. Want reliable internet without the hassle? Meet Travelfy. It's portable, high-speed Wi-Fi that's ready to go wherever you are. From road trips to remote cabins. No tricky setup or permanent location required. Just plug in and you're connected. And here's the best part. No contracts, no commitments, and no reactivation fees. Pay only for the months you need. Travelfy connects to the strongest available signal among multiple major networks, so you stay online with confidence, backed by a US-based support team that knows the outdoor lifestyle. Travelfy, simplifying internet while you travel. Visit travelfy.com today. That's TRAVLFI.com. Listeners can save 15% with code RVE at checkout. But speaking of money,
we have our affiliate.
One moment, please.